we talked about this a bit sometime this week.
Yes, we did.
And I'm talking, of course, of what we will be discussing this morning. Now, we are about to confront a disturbing global reality with local consequences, and reports suggest that some Nigerians have been lured into Russia-Ukraine war under false job promises, only to be coerced into active combat. Now, this raises serious constitutional, legal, and diplomatic questions. Nigeria's constitution states that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of the government. So what responsibility does the state bear in protecting its citizens from being deceived, trafficked, or recruited into foreign conflicts? I know that there's been lots of talking about these people actually went there on their own, but there are immigration laws. Does this immigration law not help to control things like this? Now, under the international law as well, this may amount to human trafficking or illegal machinery recruitment, triggering obligations for state intervention and protection. So this conversation goes beyond foreign policy. It's about human rights, government accountability, and the value of Nigerian lives in a volatile global order. And this is the conversation we will be having for this morning. And as always, there's someone who we have always had here, and it's been always a pleasure having him join us on this conversation. We have Dr. Festus Oguche, who is a public affairs analyst, and he'll be helping us understand better the matter that we have at hand this morning. Good morning to you, sir.
Thanks for inviting me. Good morning to you all.
It's good to have you join us here.
Yes, thank you very much.
Is your network okay? Because it seems like it's...
Yes, are you not getting me clearly?
Okay, now it's clear.
Now.
Okay, I think it's the fluctuations, some sort of...
Oh.
Okay. Okay, just to begin the conversation, I want to ask, have you perhaps heard of the report of how citizens from Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, other parts of African countries are being lured into the Russia and Ukraine war? Is it a report that you have been able to get conversant with?
Yes, it's a story that went all over the place, and it shocked me to my bones that this kind of thing is still going on. It goes beyond trafficking. It's a slavery. That's what it means, forced labor. It has all the ingredients of slavery, whatever way you want to put it. And I think it's something that we expected in very much reaction from the state government, from the state, the Nigerian states, not just Nigerian state, but also the African countries whose citizens have been subjected to that kind of torture and degrading treatment. I would say that there hasn't been much reaction to that, and the initial stage where the news filtered in, one had looked for a very expectantly that these issues will be trashed at the diplomatic level, at the international level, because it raises questions of international law, not just human rights, humanitarian law, the laws on prison, on war, the laws on treatment of individuals, which has gone beyond the bounds of the national states to an international item that must be given every bit of attention and seriousness. To recruit people to go and fight war against a fellow, luring them through telling them that there are appointments, there are situations, there are jobs abroad is the worst form of human degradation we can ever think of. And it's something that should attract the seriousness of government. But I don't see that much coming. All that the Nigerian government said, I think it's one Nigerian spokesman, said that they got into it voluntarily, but it goes beyond that. It's not just voluntary. The government has a responsibility to take care of the people, the welfare of the people, particularly when it comes to exploitation of their labor, when it comes to the degradation of their person, when it comes to treatments that are very seriously amount to torture, cruel and inhuman degrading punishment. I think we require more elaborate reactions to that than what we are doing currently. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Festus, for your thought there. The story of this Nigerian, let me get his name clearly. That is the story of Bankole Manchi, a Nigerian who was promised a civilian job, but of course ended up in a military camp, in Russia. According to him, he met recruits from other parts of the country. There's also a story of Mary, who is a mother of one of the persons that was also recruited or lured out of South Africa, get together to Russia. In fact, Mary said that she has been worried sick because her son is one of the persons among the 17 people that were lured from South Africa and Botswana as well to Russia to fight this particular war. And the allegation that she also brought on board was the fact that the daughter of the former South African president, former President Jacob Zuma, that is his daughter, was part of the persons who made the promises to these South Africans and some Botswanians, to travel down to Russia with the promise that there is a job offer for them there. Now, looking at this situation, seeing that, first of all, there is a daughter of a former president of South Africa involved in these particular allegations as it is, and of course, the Nigerian man, Manchi Bankole, who also came out to say that he was lured with a promise of 500,000 naira monthly as it is. What are the international laws that could have protected these people from being victims of this particular situation?
Well, we have several laws. First of all, those touching on the prohibition of slavery. There are laws that touch on the treatment of individuals to ensure that they are properly treated. And
Dr. Festus, we might have to have you join us again on this particular conversation, but of course, I was speaking to Dr. Festus Oguche, a public affairs analyst who's going to help us, of course, understand the situation that is going on right here in Nigeria. Of course, Africa, talking about Nigerians and Africans being lured to Russia.
Sorry, there are also laws.
Okay, you can hear us now. Yeah.
The network is very poor, so I mean, there's a lot of fluctuations, but I think it looks better now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Dr. Festus?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. You can hear me, but I'm not seeing you.
All right, I think that's going to be rectified from the back end, and then we'll get back to you to continue the conversation, with us right here in the studio. Just give us a moment while that is being rectified as it is. Just like I asked Martha, just like I asked Dr. Festus, because I saw that particular story, the claims, of course, that the daughter of the former president of South Africa was one of the persons that has been alleged to be one of these individuals that lured South Africans and some Botswana residents or citizens to Russia to be part of the Russian-Ukrainian war. And this particular allegation actually came to bear when South African government came out to say that. Are you back, Dr. Festus?
Yes, I'm back.
All right, that sounds better.
It sounds better. Let's have you join us now.
Thank you.
Go on with your thoughts.
There are laws that... Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, please. We can hear you now.
Yeah, there are international laws that protect the human person. There are international laws that define the engagements of war and who should be at war, who should fight battles. There are other international laws that talk about humanitarian conditions of man. When people are kept in such condition, contrary to their will, and made to do certain things that are not very compatible with their intentions. There are also laws touching on degrading of the human person in any manner whatsoever, because these people are taken to Russia, as they alleged, and they are kept in secure places where they will not have any interaction with anybody. And subsequently, they are taken to war zones. They are always placed at the front lines to fight the battle. Usually, they should be dead. They could be dead, and they ordinarily should be, because these are not trained soldiers. A lot of them did never envisage going into the military to fight any war. Now we push them into it and put them in the front lines to die unnecessarily. So there are laws that protect that. And the international system is so well regulated by the laws, but unfortunately, you don't see that much of regulation in the practical state of things, like this particular one, which I think is slavery. It goes just beyond trafficking. It's slavery, nothing more than that.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Oguche. But let's look a bit at the Palermo Protocol, and I have excerpts about that here. And the Palermo Protocol, formerly known as the Protocol to Prevent, Suppress, and to Punish Trafficking in Persons, especially women and children, is a supplement to the United Nations Convention Act Against Transnational Organized Crime. And a lot of people have characterized these or categorize these under the transactional organized crime, which aims to combat trafficking globally. Now, of course, BBC and other investigative outlets have also confirmed that this is something that have actually happened. People are being lured with jobs and economic upgrade and what have you into the country to be given jobs. Now, if individuals were promised civilian jobs and they are later forced into combat or weapons production, who is to blame here? Is it the government of Russia or the recruiters in itself? Because I don't believe that the recruiters can operate without the knowledge of the government. Because how do you get the people that you recruit into this war? Who is to blame here? Are both parties to be blamed, or there's one that takes the blame?
Everybody is to be blamed. In the first place, you have to look at it from the generic point of view, from the character and ingredients of the offense, if we agree that it is an offense. And you see that you cannot just hollow out a principle and say the Palermo Convention applies when it's clear-cut slavery. What is slavery? You catch people, you take them forcefully, evict them out of their homes and take them to a foreign land where they work. This one is even worse because you take people out of their homes, you lure them out, contrary to their will, and take them to a foreign land to fight war, which they could die. So where's the distinction? Where's the difference? So it's not human trafficking per se, as you call it. It's pure slavery. Let us understand that. And first of all, it's the foreign country that is fighting the war that should carry the brunt of the blame, because it's the systematic pattern of trying to recruit foreigners into your military service without their consent and without their authority, in a manner that dehumanizes them, in a manner that makes them vulnerable to death and to punishment and cruelty in a foreign land. Now the question is, how do you treat such a person, such individual, if they are caught, for instance, by one of the belligerent states? Which law would apply? We have laws that relate to the amelioration of the condition of the wounded and sick in the armed forces. Are they members of the armed forces? Will you categorize them as members of the armed forces? We have the Convention for the Amelioration, the treatment of prisoners of war. Do you categorize them as prisoners of war? You know, and we only have to be grateful to Ukraine for the magnitude, its benevolence of revealing this out. If not, if they catch a Nigerian at the war front between Ukraine and Russia, he'll be treated as a prisoner of war.
Absolutely.
And remains like that because he's fighting a battle. But then they went into and they identified such persons and knowing that these people were forced into that labor. And for that, they shouldn't suffer. There are also the Geneva Conventions on the protection of victims of international armed conflicts.
That's right.
Within that categorization, where will you place the average person who was abducted? I will look at it as abduction. It's part of the fact that they made it voluntarily. The fact that there's an allurement makes it an abduction. Abducted to a foreign land to fight war.
But
so it's a whole lot of laws touching on fundamental rights, on humanitarian law, on the whole essence of wars itself, the rules of war, the rules of engagement that are being violated. And for the people to take the blame, I mentioned Russia will take the blame first of all, then the states, the countries that are responsible, whose citizens have been taken and who have not reacted voluptuously in the manner that would be impressive, or to be taken to take part of the burden. Then we also have the international community, the African Union. Have you heard anything from the African Union since the exposure of this?
Dr. Festus, before we get on to the African Union, first of all, we have citizens of Nigeria.
Have you heard anything from the United Nations?
Hold on, Dr. Festus. Before we get on to the United Nations and the African Union, which are international organizations Nigeria happens to be a part of, as much as other African countries as well, we also, as a country, Nigeria, we haven't seen any official statements being issued by the government of Nigeria. And you see, under the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, it allows Nigeria, the country Nigeria, to be able to demand the rights of these people and prosecute the nation that is found perpetrating such a crime. But as we speak, I haven't seen any coordinated or organized report from the Nigerian government talking about or acknowledging that this actually happened and people have been caught up in these diplomatic strife. They haven't mentioned anything. So if the country who has its people part of this has not mentioned anything, how do we now expect that the United Nations and the African Union, which are obviously larger bodies, respond to us when we haven't even made any statement about it?
It's not a matter of hierarchy of international organizations. The first person to react should be the African Union. The first international organization to react, as far as I'm concerned, is the ECOWAS Commission. The ECOWAS is the sub-regional union of which Nigeria is member. And recall that it's not just the Nigerians that are involved. There are other persons that are involved. You mentioned it's a son of the former president of South Africa. Apparently, he must have involved a lot of this. The daughter must have involved a lot of her kinsmen. And so it's not a United Nations thing. First of all, it should come from Nigeria. The Nigerian government should respond. There has been a response from the list of documents that Victor sent to me yesterday. The government spokesman is saying that they joined voluntarily, which I find very offensive, and it denigrates the position of government as a responsible sovereign entity that should protect lives and properties. The right, the power to protect and the right to protect its citizens is at stake here. Then it will advance to the ECOWAS community. And this type of thing is not happening here for the first time. You know, we've heard about the dangerous migrations across the Mediterranean Sea, where people die in their boats and all that. To what extent have you seen any intervention from government authorities to abate that incident? We hear about how Nigerians and other Africans are maltreated in Morocco, in Algeria, in Tunisia. You know, the racial laws that follow, and how some of them are kept in slavery, their organs fertilized and sold, they are killed. To what extent have you seen a very elaborate and very impressive reaction from the governments? I mean, the ECOWAS is not just there to protect the heads of states and presidents when there's a threat of a coup d'etat. These are why the community exists. It's no longer a community of states, but a community of the citizens of the states. I know we have advanced beyond the illusion that this is a community of heads of states and presidents. And we felt that when Wole Soyinka described these international organizations as a social club, they should have made some adjustments to make themselves suitable and ready, willing at all times to defend the interests, not just of the community, not just of their states, not just of the position they hold as president, but also of the citizens of the community.
All right, Dr. Festus, if you look at the situation, of course, it also seems like right now the African countries that are involved are just all speaking independently. For instance, Nigeria has spoken. South Africa has also spoken in one way or the other. Of course, this revelation was even brought to light when South Africa came out to say that they want to fight for the citizens, of course, of South Africa that are victims now of this particular situation. But looking at the independent statements being made, you know, by these various countries, will this put the pressure on Russia? Because I'm not so certain now, because as at the time I was preparing for this, I haven't seen the response or statement from the Russian government as it is. But with African countries independently coming out to make statements, will this put a pressure on Russia? Or, you know, it's just all African countries for themselves? Are they supposed to be coming together to work as one to ensure that there's pressure on Russia to ensure that the right thing has got to be done?
And they don't even have a coordinated statement. Each person saying different things, which does not entirely kick against what Russia has done.
You've all answered the question. The sort of statement that aroused Russia, you know, is one that is very strong. well written, cogent, and pungent in every ramification of it. You know, stating the issues and stating the rules and giving the facts. You have just said that they are giving different
accounts,
versions of statements here and there. It's not one that is. A statement from the African Union will serve a better purpose than one from individual countries. A statement from the ECOWAS community will serve a better purpose than the one from Nigeria, for instance, against Russia. In so many places, if you go to Europe, a lot of these people do not even know that these countries exist. A lot of these countries exist. So you can imagine if this thing emanates from the ECOWAS community to have more serious implications, of which Russia will want to make a response or do a reaction. And by the way, who is even sure that the Russian Federation is involved in this criminal act? It could be its officials, it could be members of the armed forces who are looking for a way to ease the burden of war from their shoulders. And so it is important that a formal correspondence is made to Russia beyond the statement. In each of these countries, many of those countries, they have the Russian embassy there, and the Russian representative is there. There's nothing wrong in issuing very strongly worded statements to those countries through the embassies or directly to the president in Russia, expressing the disgust and the disenchantment of the actions of the Russian authority in that wise. That has not been done. But I think principally the issue is one that should be handled by the international organizations. I mentioned the ECOWAS Commission, I mentioned the African Union, I mentioned the United Nations. And for the United Nations, they don't have to get any reportage from any of the other sub-international organizations before they come. They come into it. The United Nations, they have a Human Rights Commission. It's there in Geneva. They have a Convention for Humanitarian Law, which is there. I think it's in New York or Washington. I can't remember. But they have the duty to intervene as a matter of urgency when you hear of such things. It's not just having the United Nations where presidents and heads of states go to discuss elaborately on sovereignty, on territorial integrity, on the right not to intervene in their internal matters. It's a United Nations that should be very prompt and proactive in protecting the fundamental rights of the citizens of this world. We now have a United Nations that tending to be a little too ineffective for my liking in the face of all the destructions and killings and everything that's been going on. We've been battling with Boko Haram and terrorism for years. To what extent would you say that there has been a United Nations intervention that you can say has met the standards of these destructions and killings?
Okay. Dr. Festus, we have already established that the United Nations and African Union and other international organizations are responsible for holding accountable Russia, if at all, or the recruitment agency, or however that has played out. Now that these international organizations are not speaking up, in your experience and your opinion as well, how do you think that the Nigerian government should approach it? Because we have also established the fact that all African countries are speaking for themselves. In fact, our government has said these people are responsible for what they have done. The government has no hand in it. How do you think that this matter should be approached from here on? Because the people that are left there cannot be abandoned there. And according to reports, if they refuse to partake in the combat, they are abandoned and left to die in the war front. How do you think this can be approached or solved right now?
You first of all ask yourself why the United Nations has not intervened. It's because we have not made a representation. We have representatives at the United Nations. To what extent have they represented the situation to the regular international human rights bodies? For instance, they have the International Human Rights Commission, they have the Commission on Humanitarian Law, we have the one on refugees, we have the one that defines the status of individuals and conforms with the regular standards of international relations. To what extent has there been a representation? Somebody just sits there at the presidential lodge and makes a statement and thinks it's okay. So you wouldn't blame the United Nations. We must have some robust approach to some of these things by a formal report, serious advocacy. I understand a lot of advocacy groups are making noise about it. It's not that the presidency of Nigeria, for instance, has not heard about it. As for them to do a written statement to the Russian ambassador would do. to go to a large extent to getting this done. And it shouldn't even stop there. You advance it towards bringing it to the notice of the regional bodies, the international organizations, and then you push it from there. By now, that issue have been all over the place, both in Russia and everywhere, as a fact of the extent of the dehumanization of Africans. It's not just that one. I've been reeling out examples of what's been going on within the continent and which the world is just there looking as though nothing has happened. Look at South Sudan, for instance. Look at the killings, look at the destruction. Then we begin to ask ourselves, why is it that each time these people want to perpetrate their evil, they don't look at the Middle East, they don't look at the Central Asia, they don't look at even Australia, they focus on Africa. It is the manner of the leadership, the quality of leadership of the Africans that make them begin to do a thing like that. People just go into South Sudan just for some interesting minerals. They begin to kill children and women, slaughter them like goats as if we are not humans. It's the character of the leadership, the quality of the leadership of the African state. Boko Haram and the herdsmen and all manner of terrorist organizations have been destroying and hacking down Nigerians for almost 2 decades now. The world has not been around, sufficiently to say we can stop this until the US president came into the rescue. So it's just the fact that the country itself, Nigeria itself, has not made any move. You'll be surprised that if Nigeria makes any move in the direction of expressing its angst, expressing its displeasure with that type of attitude, Russia will respond. The international community will respond. The regional organizations will respond. As for me, the African Union has not played any positive role in the protection of the human essence in this continent. And I'm beginning to think that probably we should have less of the African Union. And even if it's possible, scrapping of that union towards a more elaborate and robust function that will make it to be more responsive to the will and to the existence of Africans within the continent. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we need to go out on a very short break. And after the break, we'll keep up this conversation. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you shortly.
Thank you.
Are you missing out on interviews, music, entertainment, thought-provoking discussions, and more? Don't sweat it, man. We've got you covered. No matter where you are, be part of the action 24/7, online and live. Caesar Radio.
On Facebook, it's Rapid FM Umuahia. On Instagram, it's Official Rapid FM. And on X, it is Rapid FM 965. Tune in to Rapid 96.5 FM or listen to us live on our website at www.rapidfm965.com or radiogarden.com.
Better yet, get our mobile app from the Google Play Store.
Catch the pulse of the Southeast on Rapid 96.5 FM, the sound of your city.
Hey, Oyanam, Caesar Radio.
From the heart of Africa, where dreams are born and passion is boundless, a new wave of talent rises. In Mali.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. It's still Rapid Dawn right here on Rapid TV, and we have been having a conversation regarding the growing and pull of Russia's war machineries from Africa into Russia-Ukraine war. And it is quite unfortunate, just like our guest said, that we remain the most vulnerable population when it comes to matters like this. And this will lead to the next question I have for my guest. But yes, we have had Dr. Oguche here with us. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the privilege.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
If you ask me, I would say that this is not only a war issue. it is a test of Nigeria's global diplomatic leverage and how much value Nigeria holds in the diplomatic space. That's what I would establish personally. But aside from that, you have made mention of the fact that we also remain the most vulnerable population when it comes to matters like this. Now, what structures do you think, or what steps do you think that Nigeria must take to protect itself from occurrences like this? Because first, we have also established that the economic situation in the country is one of the things that makes us most vulnerable. The leadership situation we have in Africa is also another condition that makes us vulnerable to things like this. And it's actually playing out when our leaders say these people actually made the decisions on their own, so they don't want to be a part of it. But there are immigration laws. There are laws that should protect its citizens from occurrences like this. In your opinion, what structures do you think must be put in place to make us less vulnerable to occurrences like this?
I don't think it would be fair to narrow this conversation to Nigeria, because other African members of other African countries are also affected.
But they've been speaking individually. I mean, it would have helped for everyone to speak the same language because we are Africans, right? But
I understand what you mean. It's not an individual thing, even though they are speaking individually. That shows the failure in the intellectual understanding of the dimensions of this problem. Before I proceed, I want to confirm, does Nigeria have an ambassador in Russia yet? Has there been anyone designated to take care of the Russian angle, the Russian window? Somebody we can contact? Or do we just have diplomatic officials there, charge their affairs, and the rest of them sitting there? People who do not even have the proper qualification to meet with the U.S. president, they don't have the credence as representatives. So I want that question answered. Victor.
Victor is
an ambassador in Russia.
I'll confirm that just in a bit and then get back to you. I'm not 100% certain at the moment.
He doesn't have an ambassador in Russia. If he had, he should have known. So what strength or what potency? What cogency will you accord a complaint from a country of that nature when it doesn't have an ambassador there? So you are not taking care of your ambassadorial or diplomatic credentials as to say that probably you can make a strong case. You have not even written to the Russian ambassador. Then somebody showed me that the Russian ambassador had received a letter from the Nigerian government on that issue. It's simply that we don't take matters concerning citizens seriously. People are just interested in remaining in office, and once they get into office, they begin to plan for the next round of elections to get them into office. They begin to articulate and begin to tinker with ideas of state capture to get there. And that is why bad governance breeds a whole lot of things. It sort of delinks the people from the government. It makes it impossible for there to be a nexus between those who are running the administration and those who are being governed. And that's the problem we have with democracy in Africa. It's just a matter of state capture, hijack of resources, and all whatnot. But then to the fundamental issue which the young lady there raised, which is why are Africans moving in their droves across the Mediterranean? I grew up in a Nigeria where you seldom find people who go abroad, even for studies, except those who fail the university entrance examinations. That time there was no JAM. To University of Ibadan, to Nsukka, and to ABU, who go abroad. And most times they go there, spend 1 year in one university and still come back for those exams. If they pass and they succeed, they drop 1 year and start their programs here. A lot of people are not traveling. Nigerian ladies you find in London are maybe the spouses of persons who are studying and who also are doing some nursing. Nobody goes virtually to most parts of the world because we had comfort, we had security, and we had peace. So we ask, why are people moving in their droves? It's because of the difficult situation, the terrible situation at home, that even food is so difficult for one to eat. You can imagine a country that's flowing with milk and honey, called a country like Nigeria, that's about one of the richest in terms of resources, human and material resources, with high practical population of high practical intellectual ability. Everybody wants to move abroad. If you drop a slave ship here by the Atlantic Ocean, you can see the amount of people who rush to it just to escape the poverty, to escape the excruciating penury, to escape the hunger. So these are things that ought to be addressed, not just just nipping it in the bud to say that, well, Nigeria can act and all that. What you do is to ensure good governance at home. Let there be food on the table of the masses. Let people have sufficient to sustain them, to guarantee for the sustenance of their children, their generations yet or more. Then you know you have arrived. And it amounts to just scratching it in the surface if you go and create a wall in the Mediterranean to stop people from advancing towards such dangerous migration.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. You've made such very salient points. Our government also needs to be fixed, and the economic situation in Nigeria also needs to be addressed, just so that citizens of our country and other African countries, just like you have stated, are able to remain at home when the economic condition is fixed. Thank you so much, Dr. Festus Oguche, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Have an amazing day ahead.
You too.
All
Good
right.
day.
Well, I was actually going to make that point he made, or he talked about. If African countries always are vulnerable to incidents like this, it just goes a lot to say what the condition in our country is like. Because if we continue to experience things like this, Nigerians are migrating to us. Nigerians are in every single country.
Of course.
Every single country, you see Nigerians there. And it just says a lot. What are we really escaping from? What happens at home that is not so favorable that we want to go to another man's home to get a better life? And what is the guarantee that when we go there, we would have a better life? You see, so I think the first point of call is from our government as well. Fix the country. Fix the nation, make it habitable for young people, for young Nigerians and other Africans, because I mean, Dr. Festus this is not a war that we can fight alone. It's about every African country, because we are the most vulnerable when it comes to matters like this. Very true. I mean, it's important.
You know, first thing first, I think it's really important that we rejig our economy, just like you stated, right? And it's not even guaranteed that you leave Nigeria or leave Africa to another part of the country that you're going to make it eventually. Well, people that live in the European countries, and these guys live in abject poverty. I mean, people that are escaping poverty from Africa and are even facing the worst of scenarios or situations over there in the European country or other parts of the world, basically. And that is to say that what people are trying to run away from here is the challenges that we face economically in our own continent. And if you look at the entire Africa, I mean, there's still a big-time struggle when it comes to young people thriving in the various countries that we have in Africa. Now, bring the situation back again to what we're experiencing right now, seeing Africans, being lured. Now, it shows you that these guys actually are desperate, young people. They are desperate for any opportunity at all that is going to make them leave the continent to every other part of the world, anything that comes on board. And many times, people don't get to read through, all of the nitty-gritties of the information, the details of the information that has been provided to them. All they needed to know is that, well, we're leaving Africa, we're leaving Nigeria, we're going to maybe Russia, we're going to the UK, there is a better living condition for us there, and people just move out and do what they need to do. And that's why I asked the question about pressure, because Nigeria spoke out, South Africa spoke out, Botswana spoke out, basically, but these are individual countries speaking. And the truth is, with individual voices alone, it is going to be so weakened. We can't get any result basically coming out from there. And that's the reason why we have the African Union. They're supposed to come on board to actually have this conversation together and put that pressure together.
And you see, I don't even quite regard what our country has said as a response at all. Because it was just a blame game that happened over there.
Exactly.
They didn't issue any statement that said, we kick against it, or I didn't quite see like a clear statement that they made. It was like it was their choice. Now, even if it is their choice, because people make choices,
and
right?
They make mistakes
and people
as well.
make mistakes as well. And that's why I quoted the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations.
Right.
This allows, Nigeria has the right and the obligation to protect its nationals abroad, including access legal assistance, and diplomatic protest, which means that regardless of the mistakes that Nigerians have made by finding themselves there and not properly verifying the information that led them to apply and getting the job that they were given, the country also has a responsibility to defend and protect the rights of its citizens. Did they make a mistake? Yes. Can the country come in to intervene now that they've made a mistake? Because it is not about their personal interest anymore.
No.
It is a reflection of what the country would allow eventually. And I don't see how the country does not see that this brands a negative image for the Nigerian people.
Right.
Because we are talking about being the most vulnerable population as Africa. Nigeria also becomes an even more vulnerable nation to most of these things because they have just displayed that our government had no support for people going out there. So if you go out there on your own, whatever you see there, you will bear the consequence, and the government is not willing to intervene in that matter.
And that speaks so wrongly of us.
Exactly.
What is the duty of the government? To protect the lives and the properties of their citizens, right?
Constitutionally stated.
It is that clear. Now you see that the lives of your people are at risk, and you're not doing anything, tangible to mitigate that situation. Recall that it was even the Ukrainian government that actually brought this to bear. They brought it to limelight. Saying that, hey, we have foreigners coming on board. We have Africans that are coming in to fight as mercenaries for Russia. I mean, we are not going to be responsible for any casualty that happens to these individuals. Therefore, countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Botswana, issue these warnings to your citizens so that they either can be withdrawn back home or something of that sort. Right, and that was where all of this began to come to play, and that's why the individual I cited, Mary, who is the mother of one of the South African individual, that traveled down to Russia. She was so concerned and so worried because, according to her account, the last time she spoke to her son was when her son told her that he was worried that he is going to be fighting for the Russian war. And after that very conversation with her son, she's in South Africa, her son is now in Russia. She hasn't spoken with the young man up until this particular report, was brought to limelight. And she, as a mother, is worried sick. She, as a mother, she said she kept having heart palpitations, feeling dizzy at every point in time. Now recall this: she's not the one in Russia, but she's having the after effects
of the person in Russia. Why did the child even go to? Because
that's the point. There were promises. Remember, most of these people were lured. They didn't even know that.
We go to a war-torn country if you are promised. I understand the place of economic pressure as one of the reasons that anybody would leave home to go elsewhere to look for greener pastures. But how about the point of caution? Because this is a war-torn country. Do you think that traveling there, you will somehow be exempted from the casualties that would occur during the war? This is Russia. Exactly. This is Russia. This is Russia and Ukraine we are talking about. Russia is a powerful country. They have mercenaries. How many nuclear weapons does Nigeria have to combat Russia? So you as an individual must also learn to exercise caution. We will give the portion of the blame to the government where it is needed, but we also need to exercise caution as individuals. It's not every country that you travel to, and this one also, you have seen countlessly on the news that there's war between these two countries. What were you thinking that when you go to that country would happen? Even if you don't fight in the war, you are most likely going to become a casualty in that war. Why would you still go to such a country?
Again, just like you said, promises. But again, these are some of the mistakes that the Africans actually made. Because maybe sometimes there are ways people are going to package certain promises to you, and you'll be like, okay, the war doesn't affect this particular region of the country and all of that. Those could be, but just like you said, caution is really very important. But the desperacy of people wanting to leave Africa is one thing that we should also look into. Right? People are so desperate that they don't care who else is God. They don't care the consequences. And you just hear people say, damn the consequences. I'm leaving Africa and wherever I get to. And so we need to look into our continent and as much as possible invest in Africa. Many of the billionaires globally, they look to Africa right now as the next big thing, because Africa has the potential to actually dominate economically when it comes to the world as it is. Go to Rwanda. As small as Rwanda is, we have many tech giants coming out from Rwanda, Kigali specifically. We have young Africans in the tech ecosystem going down to that particular state in Rwanda, and they are thriving. Now imagine that there's a lot of investment in the tech space there in Kigali, in Rwanda.
Well, we'll rather go outside of Nigeria. But anyways, I don't know. Analysts have called it the post-colonial effect, where you were colonized before, you are no longer colonized, but the effects of the colonialism that happened at the time in your country keeps affecting you, where you prioritize another man's nation over what happens within your nation. But it's a call to the government, serious call to the government to fix the economic situation in Nigeria, because I don't think anybody would prefer to stay in another country that's not theirs. If this country works, believe me, people will come back to their country and fix it. In fact, we had a conversation yesterday where we were trying to collect data for Agri. And the guest we had was basically talking about how it's important for the governors or the government to also liaise with technocrats. These people have gone out there. They've been able to gain knowledge, amass knowledge, bring it back to Nigeria. They should not be kicked out of the system. They should be embraced, and space should be held for them to be able to implement what they have learned from the different parts of the world that they resided in. But this would bring us to the very end of the conversation we've had today. And I also want to reiterate the fact that caution is important. When you are given visas or when you are given these opportunities to travel out of Nigeria, do your due diligence by doing a lot of research and investigation into the offer that you're giving before you go. We cannot control the situation in Nigeria for now. The government says they're working on it. But your part is to ensure that you are safe out there and you critically scrutinize the opportunities that have been made available to you. My name is Martha Alu.
And of course, my name is Victor Ake.
We will remind you about the social media platforms before we go. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and other social media platforms. It is at Rapid TV. On YouTube, it is at official Rapid TV. On our website, it's www.rbnradiotv.com. You can connect with us through any one of these platforms. Thank you, and we will see you tomorrow.
This is Rapid Broadcasting Network, RBN. We connect people, power stories, and amplify voices. On Rapid TV, we're rooted in culture and your window to the stories that matter. From news to lifestyle, we inform, entertain, and uplift. Join Rapid TV on StarTimes Channel 176, Nigecomsat. On Rapid FM, we speak your language, from the soulful airwaves of Umuahia to the vibrant culture of Port Harcourt and beyond. More than broadcasters, we're creators, amplifying that voice within with powerful content across TV, radio, and digital. Join us at rbnradiotv.com and all our social media handles. One network, one voice. Rapid Broadcasting Network, RBN. The sound of your city, rooted in truth, driven by impact. From the heart of Africa, where dreams are born and passion is boundless, a new wave of talent rises. In La Liga, these extraordinary athletes are not just playing the game, they're transforming it.